Hi guys, let me give you a quick houseplant tour. I have an active Instagram page and you guys asked me for one. I try to post it on Instagram, but as you know, the Instagram doesn't allow you to post any videos that is more than 10 minutes long. So I'll be quick. It's going to be a very basic introduction of all my houseplants to give you an idea of the light source. This is my living room and this is an east facing window, the only source of light that I have for this plant. And let's start. So this is an areca palm. I guess you also call it as a butterfly palm. This is one of the oldest and the biggest houseplants that I have. He's been growing with me for over 2 years. This is where it all began, a really healthy, beautiful, big plant. But it has developed some kind of a sunburn. That's because in the morning you do get like direct light that falls on this part of the plant. I did not see it for a few days. Now when I have realized it, I have kept the shade towards the side of the window so that the direct light doesn't fall on this plant. Moving on, the next plant is this Philodendron Rojo Congo, one of my favorite plants. Um I guess you guys know that this single plant will have like three different color of leaf in it. The newest leaf, the bud, it starts with a bright red color, then it turns into a beautiful burgundy, then a really dark, deep emerald green. And if you see this particular leaf, it's neither green or burgundy. It's kind of in a transition, I guess. And I would also like to apologize. I am shooting this in dark with the artificial light because it's almost 7. And as I said, it's a very casual amateur video. So I guess that's fine with you guys. So the next plant is a burgundy Indian rubber plant. You also call it as a Ficus elastica. Beautiful plant again. I love how dark the leaves are. The foliage is really thick and it has almost a leathery texture to it. So it's a slow growing plant. It's started giving out a new leaf. I will keep you posted on it. Next, I do have some devil's backbone. You also call it as a Christmas tree candle or a Jacob's ladder. It's a kind of a succulent, doesn't require a lot of watering, and a lot of bright light is needed, and it sits directly opposite to the east window. So this one's doing good, no problem at all. Then I do have a couple of pothos here that I propagated from my mother plant. I recently transferred them to the soil. It's growing there. And here are a few more cuttings of pothos from my mother plant that I'm propagating it in water. So once it's mature and the leaves are a little bigger than this, then I will transfer them to the soil. I like pothos when I let them trail down. I do not have any of those as of now, but that is the whole plan of it. Here you have some Aretha Franklin and a really beautiful playlist that I have on Spotify. You can see a Stevie Wonder. Moving on, an anthurium. It again, this sits directly opposite to the east facing window. I do not have any problem growing this plant because my mom's a kind of an anthurium expert. She has over 60 plants back home, the anthuriums. So anything goes wrong with this, my mom's a quick phone call away. She would tell me what exactly to do. And since it receives a lot of bright light, the plant blooms and it retains its beautiful color as well. And I'm growing this completely in a coco peat, no soil at all. Then I have a new plant here. I forgot its name. I bought it a couple of days back from a local nursery. It's the first time that I'm trying this. Really pretty plant. I know it is native to South America, but I forgot its name. But I'll do some research. I have read some interesting facts about this plant. Let it grow a bit. I will give you an update on that. Here, I am propagating few plants. I have a fiddle leaf fig that's sitting in some water and rooting hormones. This is my mother plant of the pothos. I have propagated or planted more than 15 different pothos from this particular plant. Here is a propagation of a Philodendron lemon lime. It's just 2 weeks and I can already see the roots that's been getting developed here. And a Philodendron Brazil, one of the most beautiful foliage I have seen in the houseplant market. I started propagating it because I thought I'm going to kill the mother plant, but luckily The plant survived, the mother plant, and it's doing really good. So I will have 2 new philodendron Brazil in the next few weeks. Next, the cream of all the house plant. It's called as the It Plant by the New York Times. It has won the House Plant of the Year award by BBC and a couple of other things. A really beautiful plant which is really popular right now. I always wanted this plant. I've been trying to grow it from few years, but I never really was confident that I could grow one, because this plant is known to be really fussy and finicky. A lot of care should be given to this plant, but I have managed to keep an eye on this plant. I have no problem with this. There are no rusty spots or burning tips. The leaves have not dropped yet. I hope it doesn't. The plant is doing really good, so I'm happy and can't wait for it to grow into a small, tiny, lush tree so that I can keep it indoors and appreciate its beauty. Next, I have a Pilia peperomioides. It's a pretty rare and hard plant, at least here in India. I got them 3 months back. I almost killed the plant initially when I bought it. Then I tried different watering schedules and different lights. Now you have seen a good growth. It had lost all its leaf when I initially bought them inside the house. This is the only original leaf from the plant that has sustained. Rest all the leaf are new leaf, which I'm really happy that I've managed to keep them alive. Here is a Spanish stone crop, a kind of a succulent again, doesn't require much of water but a lot of bright light. It has started trailing down, so a good pretty plant. Here I'm propagating mint. I use a lot of mint while cooking. I have done this before. The roots have already started developing. Within the next few days I will transfer them to the soil. Then I will have a fresh patch of mint to use once again. Down I have a syngonium. This is a plant that was given to me by a friend of mine. I propagated it in water for a few months, and last week I transferred them to the soil. So the plant is healthy, it's alive, it is looking good. Let's see how it turns out. Here, below the table, I have a rabbit's foot fern. The foliage is really good. The roots have started developing. Where is the root? Here. Then it has started covering with its fur as well. It might take a couple of more months for it to completely get covered. I will let you know how this one turns out. Few more pothos from the mother plant in soil. Want to let it trail. Here is a small tetrasperma. I propagated it from a cutting, transferred it to a soil a month back. Couple of new leaf, doing good. I'm happy. Pretty plant. I want to let it trail all across my house. Here is a philodendron renoxy. I propagated it for my mom because she loves this plant and she doesn't have one. It was staying in a bottle of water. I couldn't send it to her on time because of COVID. Then I transferred it to a soil. Now you can see a small beautiful leaf that has popped out. Good one. Here is a sedum that has started trailing down, and a polka dot plant next to it. I love the pattern on its leaf, a good mixture of green and white, almost white, a very pretty plant. Here is a peace lily. People say it's a very easy plant to grow, but not for me. I have killed one plant in the past last year. It has bloomed as well. I guess the problem with this plant is that you need to water them every day, but I'm one of those guys who prefer watering them once a week. But I want to rescue this plant. I do not want to let it die. So here, it's been a month, doing good. It's given me a bloom as well, and thank you for it, peace lily. Here's a Caletheia. I don't know which variety is it. It has some ruby streaks on it. I know that this plant is little difficult to grow in the. It's not a beginner's plant, if I have to tell you that. But for me, this guy is being pretty easy. I got it for free from a friend of mine, so I wanted to try it, and it's doing good. I hope I will not kill it. Looking at this plant, I don't think so it's going to die anyways. Thank you for that again. Here is a Monstera adonacii, a small plant. This one's not doing the way I wanted. There are few rusty tips. That's generally the sign of overwatering. I am trying to ignore these plants for a few weeks so that it can just uh, become little better, and hopefully this one does good. So the next one, all right, this is a beautiful, huge philodendron lemon lime. Again, I have it for a few. Uh, it's almost a year that I have this plant with me. Uh, Initially, I did not tie them on the moss plant. It was there in one of my friend's house. All the stems and everything was very twisty and all tangled up. Now I have put a moss pole to it, and you could see, like, the amount of ribbons that I've used to give it a support so that it can grow it in a beautiful shape. The plant is healthy and good, but I guess I would need little more time for it to turn into a beautiful shape. Next, here on my living room windowsill, I do have a lavender that's doing really good. I love the aroma of it. I have rescued a philodendron. This is a blushing philodendron. One of my friend almost threw it away because the plant was not very healthy, but this one's doing really good. There's a new plant that has come out, which is a good news. Here's a rosemary. I use a lot of rosemary every time I roast meat. So the plant is little skinny, but the plant is healthy and it gives me enough rosemary. Since the fragrance or the flavor of this particular herb is so strong, couple of leaves, just crush it and put it in anytime you roast a meat. That should be good. Next, I have a ruby rubber plant. It's giving a new leaf again. It's a slow growing plant, very basic one. I guess it is native to Nepal and Bangladesh, but an interesting plant. I like the pattern on its leaf, so I have kept it on top of my fridge. Here I do have some ferns. I have a lace fern and a Boston fern. I come from a place called Bangalore here in India, which is a very hilly and mountainous place. The place is always covered with mist, very wild, and I don't know how do you call it. It's a very hilly, mountainous, beautiful place. You have a lot of ferns in that region in the wild. I have always grown around these plants. Reminds me a lot of home. That's why I have kept it here in the altar. Again, as per my culture, Mother Mary represents these plants. It's one of the plants that she represents. So I have kept her just behind it so that I have some kind of a resemblance, which is pretty close to my heart. Next, where do we go? All right, here's an Aurelia. It's basically my bar. Sorry, I haven't cleaned my kitchen because I just cooked my dinner. So here's an Aurelia, the basic green one. I'm looking for a variegated Aurelia that has some yellow and white leaf in it. If someone has it, someone wants to swap with me for any of the excess plant that I have, let me know. I would be more than happy to do it. Here is a heartleaf philodendron, again sitting on my bar. Doesn't receive a lot of direct bright light. Receives somewhat filtered light. But the plant is doing good, it's healthy, there are no dropping of leaf. The plant is growing good. You can, let me just go back and show it to you. So this is how it is. I like the shape of the leaf. The color is really dark and deep. So a good plant again. So this is another old plant of mine called as a Draco. So again, this plant is there with me for almost 2 years. I love the way this leaf falls down and gives it a very beautiful shape. The only problem with this plant is, since the leaf spreads out too much, it really requires a lot of space. So I have kept it on a bar stool above my bar table so that it can have its own place. Here in my kitchen, I have a small east facing window again. I'm growing some herbs. This is a stevia that I killed because I went to pluck some leaf, but I plucked the whole stem. Here it's dying. Hopefully it will propagate and regrow it once again. Let's see. Here's a sage. Sorry, it's pretty dark, but here's a sage. Then here is the I guess this one is a spearmint. So here's a spearmint. Then here is thyme. Here is the Japanese mint. Then here is lemon balm. Here I have some peppermint. Here I have pandan leaf, which has a really good aroma, very Asian Indonesia, Jakarta. Memories with this one. So good plant. What do I have next? Okay, some hanging plants here. This is the curtain rod that I have used it to hang my plants. Here's the mother plant of the Philodendron Brazil. Good one. It's started growing back once again. In the past, it had developed some kind of the leaf where the stems were a little leggy. Then I've changed its place. Here it's doing much better. So here is a maiden fern creeper. This one's also started trailing down, free of all the diseases, no pests, nothing. A very healthy plant. I water it only once a week. Beautiful. I like this. It's the first time that I tried this plant. Even my mom doesn't have it. I don't know why, but I'm happy with this plant. It's an enjoy pothos. I used few ribbons to hang it. It's the favorite kind of pothos, my favorite kind, and even this one started trailing down. So happy with this. This one's called as a medusa. I don't know the scientific name of it. So the stems resembles medusa from the Greek mythology. It's a kind of a succulent again, doesn't require a lot of water. It blooms once in a while with pretty yellow flowers, and yeah, pretty interesting, very artsy looking plant. And here is a wandering Jew. I recently bought few cuttings from a friend of mine, directly potted them in the soil because I could not propagate them in water because the stems were too long and I was kind of lazy, I guess. But I know for a fact that the plant is alive because the day I potted them in the soil, all the leaves were like really wilted and droopy. But here they look, oh, did I cut something? Yeah, this one plant that is hanging. I need to put it back in the soil. I'll do that after this video. So that's about it. It's a very casual, quick plant tour of my house. I will try to do a professional one with, I have a friend, like I do have like, a couple of friends who are professional videographers. So sometimes we all meet up for a couple of beers at my place. Let's try doing it, and let me know what you think. And any questions to people who are in Bangalore, like where do I buy my plants from, what kind of fertilizers I use, and who will take care of my plants when I travel or I go out on work. Ask me if you really want to know. I will try to answer them. But for now, you have a good weekend. Because I'm shooting this on a Friday night. If you're watching it on any other time of the week, then have a good day. I will see you soon with an update. Yeah? Bye.